Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Viv. I make videos about witchcraft, paganism, spirituality, the occult, and other related topics. So if that sounds like something interesting to you, feel free to subscribe. My links to my Instagram, Patreon, and all my other social medias are also down below in the description, so feel free to check those out if you feel so inclined. Today, we are going to be talking about planetary timing, planetary correspondences, what planets the different days of the week correspond to, planetary hours and how you can use them to boost your spells and rituals, and all of that good stuff. So let's get started. So one thing to keep in mind before we go into the days of the week and the planets that they correspond to is that specific days and specific times during the day do correspond to different planets, and those planets lend their energies to that day or to that hour, and this makes certain times and certain days more auspicious for specific types of magical workings. Let's start with Monday. As the name may suggest, Monday is associated with the moon. Now, the moon is good for intuition, psychic abilities, cycles, divination, glamour magic, dream magic, uncovering all that is hidden, and working with lunar deities such as Hecate, Artemis, or Diana, Selene, whatever lunar deities that you venerate in your practice. Monday is always a good time to leave out an offering or channel those energies towards a specific goal. Now, the number of the moon is 9. The metal is silver. The colors are silver and purple. The crystals include selenite, aquamarine, beryl, chalcedony, moonstone, pearl, and quartz. And the sign corresponding to the moon is Cancer, and the incense to burn when working with the moon and lunar energies is myrrh. Let's go on to Tuesday. So Tuesday is associated with Mars, who is the Roman god of war, sort of the Roman equivalent of the Greek Ares. Workings done on Tuesday are great for ambition and success, baneful magic, so making war water is a great example of this, enhancing your energy, and bringing dynamic and fiery energy to your life, to your goals, and even to your spiritual practice. The number associated with Mars is 5. The metal is iron. However, if you're making planetary talismans, traditionally brass would be the metal used, given that, according to lore all around the world in different cultures, spirits tend to dislike iron. So if you are working with spirits, whether that be the Fae or Jinn, it's all across different cultures, it's best to use brass instead of iron. And the color is red. The crystals are bloodstone, carnelian, garnet, hematite, magnetite, pyrite, and ruby. The incense is kostos, or costus root. Wednesday is associated with the god Mercury. So on Wednesday, it's best to work on spells to do with communication, travel, financial and business success, perhaps if you're giving a speech to enhance your confidence, anything to smooth out communication. It's great for money flow, and it's less of the abundance and more of movement. So that movement, that kind of airy energy is really great to work with on Wednesdays. The number is 8. The metal would be mercury, but given that that is extremely toxic, if you're actually going to be working with the metals, making talismans, whatever you're doing, it's aluminium or aluminum, if you're American, is a great substitute for mercury. Given that it's lightweight, it's used on aircraft, so those correspondences fit pretty well. The color is orange, and the crystals include agate, aventurine, citrine, labradorite, and opal, and the incense is cassia. Thursday corresponds with Jupiter. Jupiter's the father god, he's the king of the gods, right? So Jupiter energy is really good for promotions, moving up in the world, becoming the greatest version of yourself, authority, promotions, justice spells in legal matters, and success and good luck and good health, expansion, abundance. All of these themes are great to work with on Thursday. The number of Jupiter is 4. The metal is tin. The color is blue. The crystals include lapis lazuli, amethyst, ammonite, azurite, sapphire, sodalite, and turquoise. And the best incense to work with Jupiter is Indian bay leaf or malabathron. Friday is corresponded with Venus. Venus is the goddess of love, beauty, sex, so this day is really great to work on love spells, self-confidence and self-love spells on other people if that's your thing, sex magic, glamour magic, developing relationships or friendships, creativity, fertility, and those kinds of themes. The metal of Venus is copper, the number is 7, the color is green, and the crystals include malachite, amazonite, emerald, jade, peridot, and rose quartz, and zoisite. The incense corresponded to Venus is, according to the Picatrix, is spikenard. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. That's just kind of how it's written, so that's what I assumed. But just a note on that, it is extremely difficult to cultivate. It's native to the Himalayas and it's critically endangered. So if you are going to buy this plant, I'd recommend buying ethically and ensuring that the shop you're buying from either cultivates it themselves or somehow harvests it ethically so that they're not contributing to the critical endangered status of this species. I would say if you don't want to go there and if you don't want to try to find an ethically harvested form of the plant, go with another plant that's corresponded with Venus. Rose is always a safe alternative. So, or make your own incense blend, whatever you'd prefer to do. Saturday is the day of Saturn. Saturn is associated with discipline, restrictions, balance, protection, self-development. And usually it's kind of the difficult work that you have to do to develop yourself. Not the nice, fluffy, oh, I love myself, but the hard stuff that you have to get through in order to grow as a person. And it can also be used, that energy can be harnessed for use in baneful magic, especially in binding spells, and as a sort of restrictive force. The number of Saturn is 3, the metal is lead, the color is black, the crystals include obsidian, jet, onyx, serpentine, and smoky quartz, and the incense that you use for Saturn is storax. Sunday, as again the name suggests, is associated with the sun. So this is always a good time to do solar adorations, leave out offerings and honor solar deities like Helios, Ra, or Sol, or whoever it is, depending on your practice, if you are a polytheist and you're watching this. And the sun is good for positivity, improving rigor and health, dispelling fear, harmony, strength, prosperity, promotions, progression, and all of that good stuff. It's a life-giving energy. The number of the sun is 6, the metal is gold, the colors are gold and yellow, the crystals representing the sun include amber, cat's eye, diamond, sunstone, tiger's eye, topaz, and zircon, and I'd also say goldstone is good as well. And the incense for working with the sun is frankincense. So those planetary correspondences are all good to know, and those corresponding days, and that's kind of very basic planetary correspondence information. So now that we've had that foundation laid out, let's talk briefly about planetary hours. So planetary hours originated in ancient Egypt, where a different god was attributed to each hour of the day. It was later adapted by the Greeks and then passed down to us in the form that we use it today. One thing about planetary hours is that they aren't always 60-minute hours, and they can be, but the length of each hour depends on what time sunrise and sunset is. So how would you calculate this? First off, you're going to need a planetary hours chart. And I will put one up here from the book, Llewellyn's Book of Ceremonial Magic. Really great resource that I'm reading currently. And in order to calculate how the length of each hour of the day, as it is right now, to calculate planetary hours, you would see how many hours and minutes of daylight are in the day. So for example, if currently, where you are right now, the sun rises at 7:19 a.m. and sets at 6:13 p.m., you do the calculations and you'd figure out that you have 714 minutes from sunrise till sunset. And how you would do that is that you would take your hours, multiply them by 60, and then add them to the minutes that you had. So you have 714 minutes, you divide this by 12, and you get 59.5. So I actually use the actual sunrise and sunset times to get this calculation, and this is close enough to 60 that it can be rounded up, but at a different point of the year, it could be something like 69 minutes. And so you would use that 69 minutes to figure out what times you would do your rituals. So if the first hour is 69 minutes long, then the second hour would be 69 minutes long, rather than it being necessarily from 7:19 to 8:19, it might be from 7:19 to 8:30, for example. So depending on what time of the year you're doing your calculations, the number could be much higher or much lower than 60 minutes. There are instructions in the book as well for calculating planetary hours. There is a set way to do it, and I did consider putting it in the video, but I honestly feel like it's completely unnecessary because if you're on YouTube and you're watching this video, you have Google and you have technology at your fingertips. So all you need to do nowadays really is put planetary hours calculator into Google and it will come up. If you're ever in a situation where you don't have the internet and you need to figure out planetary hours, I don't know, figuring out planetary hours would be my first priority in that case. I'd probably just be trying to get my internet fixed, honestly. But I will put a picture up of the explanation in the same book, Llewellyn's Book of Ceremonial Magic, up on the screen, because I just felt like if I showed you guys, it would turn into like a whole Khan Academy type video where I'm doing math on camera and I'm trying to explain how to calculate planetary hours, and that seemed tedious and like too much work. And yeah, if you're watching this, you have the internet, so just look up planetary hours calculator and look at which hour corresponds to which planet and do your ritual on that hour during that hour, within the duration of that hour, if you want to boost the effects of your ritual with that timing. So if you really want a boost, let's say you do a spell to improve your communication with somebody, you're going to do that on a Wednesday, and you're going to do that on one of the planetary hours of Mercury on that Wednesday. And boom, you have set yourself up for success, and hopefully if you set up the spell well, then you'll have some promising results with that. Now, to close out this video, I want to talk briefly about moon phases, and I'm giving this part of the video a very short time frame because I feel like this is discussed very often already, especially in witchcraft circles and a lot of beginner books you'll see it. But just in case, because I know that a lot of the people who watch my videos are also beginners, and there's absolutely no shame in that. We're all always learning. I'm constantly learning every single day. You're learning every single day, and hopefully we will spend our entire lives learning until the day we die, and maybe after that, right? So, waxing moon is good for bringing things in, good for expanding things in your life, good for bringing more into your life, whereas the waning moon is good for shedding and good for releasing. However, I would say you don't have to only do expansion work during the waxing moon and shedding work during the waning moon. not everyone bases their entire practice off of the moon cycles. But again, if you want yet another extra boost to help funnel the energies in the right direction, if you're doing a big important working, then it's always good to have all the energies that you need on your side. Full moons and dark moons are controversial. Some people don't work with dark moons at all. I'm a Hecate devotee, so that is not me. I will often worship her more so on this day, and because she is heavily associated with the dark moon. So the dark moon is good for introspection, for retreating inwards, and for kind of doing that inner work. The full moon, I think it is good for manifestation magic, but I tend to use it the most for divination and using the light of the moon to charge magical tools and such. And so I'm not the type of witch that'll do a huge full-blown ritual every full moon. It is good for ritual work, but it is also great for divination, and it's good for more subtle things like just setting things out on your windowsill and charging them under the light of that full moon. And in terms of the new moon, so I am one of those people who kind of separates the dark moon from the new moon. So during the dark moon, I'll see it as more of a time for cleansing, and I'll see it as a time for introspection and shadow work. And when that first bit of moon starts showing, like right after the dark moon, that's what I personally will see as a new moon. And that's a great time for new beginnings, for getting new things, new projects started, or new anything started. And then as that moon waxes, hopefully your success will also grow along with the moon. So that was the basics of the moon cycles and how those can help bring that extra little boost to your magical workings and your spiritual progress and goals as well. And that is all for today. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I will put all of my socials below. My Instagram, which I started recently, I kind of broke it off from my old one, so my old one is now my personal Instagram, and I have a new Instagram that is just about magic, occultism, witchcraft, and the handle is Lunar Fairy Witch, just like my channel, minus the spaces. So if you want to check that out, go ahead. If you would like, my Patreon is down below. I have early access to all of these videos that I post here, as well as content just for my patrons and a Discord server for my patrons. My most recent post was a reflection on Magic in Theory and Practice by Aleister Crowley, which I just finished for the first time. It was my first read of it, and my first impressions, my thoughts on it, and how it kind of changed the way I think about certain things, and just my take on that book in general. And so there's lots of fun stuff on there. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, feel free to check that out. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know if you learned anything new or if this helped broaden or changed your perspective on anything. And once again, thank you so much for watching. I love you all. Love is the law, love under will. Bye.